What's up, you guys? Welcome back. This is the Davinci Resolve Speed Editor. You may or may not have seen it before, but today I'm going to go over a number of different things that I wish I would have known before I made the investment and purchased this thing. That way you can make a more informed decision about whether or not you want to purchase something like this. I'll even tell you whether or not I think it lives up to its name. So first off, the Speed Editor, it is a very nicely built piece of equipment. It's substantially heavy for its size. This scroll wheel is like really well machined and it seems so smooth as you're using it. It doesn't really feel cheap at all, so really when it comes to build quality, I'm all in. This thing's really nicely put together, except for a couple of little quirks, and I'll get to those in a minute. On the other hand, that really positive visual and tactile kind of thing ran into a couple of hiccups pretty early on. And that first real negative thing is the fact that there are no real instructions provided by Blackmagic Design. When you get it in the box, there's practically nothing in the box other than the Speed Editor itself and a USB-C cable, if you're lucky. I've read things online where some people got one without a USB-C cable. I guess I was kind of lucky because mine did come with a cable. I guess not everybody's has. So there's no real instruction manual in the box. And then when you go to try to download the manual, it just sends you to the manual for Davinci Resolve, which by the way is a multi-thousand page PDF. So sifting through that for quick information is kind of a pain in the ass. So of course what this ended up doing was leaving me to search YouTube for instructions on how to use their product. And we all know how that can go. Sometimes you get really good tutorials and sometimes you get kind of garbage. Be nice. The other kind of frustrating thing about the Speed Editor is the fact that it's completely devoid of a power button or any kind of indication of whether or not it's turned on. The only time that it indicates anything to you is when the lights come on when it's connected to Davinci Resolve. But it can be connected to your computer via Bluetooth and have no lights on. There's no indication as to how to go about waking the device when you want to use it. And I've found that really the only hack here is that if I just press and hold down the space bar, if it doesn't seem to be connecting, it'll kind of connect up on its own. It just takes a second for it to boot up. And that seems to work pretty well. But I've so far still not found any documentation that indicates that I'm doing that right. The other problem with there not being a real clearly designed user manual is the fact that it doesn't really give you a whole lot of explanation of the functions. For example, with the scroll wheel, there's this really lovely smooth motion here, but it's also a button. But there's no documentation as to what that button can do. And on top of that, even in experimentation, it doesn't seem to do anything. So why does it do it? I would love to know. I would love to be able to assign that like some kind of a shortcut, but so far I haven't figured out how to do that. Now, another quirk about this device that almost was a deal breaker for me was the fact that like once I got it plugged in and I was already kind of a fish out of water with a new control system, I realized that this device is designed almost exclusively for use on the cut tab or the cut page of Davinci Resolve. You know, that weird secondary editing page that showed up somewhere around version 15 when they did a little bit of a redesign, and now there's this cut page and an edit page and it's two different places to edit. Up until this point, I had never really screwed around with the cut page because I didn't see a real benefit to it. I know that it was supposed to make your workflow faster, but coming from Premiere in the past, I pretty much was used to just editing in the edit page and I left it at that. Long story short, I pretty much felt like a total brand new idiot when it came to editing once I started to use this thing because I'd never used the cut page. It seemed to have the most functionality on the cut page, and yeah, so initially I wasn't super happy with it. So to give you a quick rundown, it seems to have full functionality in the cut page. Most of that functionality kind of carries over to the edit page, and then it's basically useless in the color page, and it doesn't do you any good in the Fusion tab either. It's mainly going to be useful to you in the cut and the edit page. All of that said, I decided that I was going to give it a fair chance anyway and try to get my brain to adapt to the cut page while using this device. And honestly, I'm really glad that I did. So for something that I didn't initially like that much, as I started to use it, I started to notice how quick it made the base cut functions. Okay, so we'll call when you're doing your first pass on an edit and you go through and you cut all your talking head stuff like what I'm filming right now. When I go through and do all of that and create a base cut, to which I will later go in and add B-roll and do further cuts and tweaks and things like that, doing that base cut using the cut page and the speed editor was incredibly quick. It seemed like every function that I was trying to use, it made it so that rather than 2 or 3 clicks, it was one button press, which was really cool. Because there's all those dedicated buttons and dials and things, it basically allows you to eliminate several different button presses and clicks and things like that, which streamlines your workflow. All in all, where I stand with it right now is that it's a device that I actually am learning to really enjoy using. It does seem to speed up my workflow. If you guys are interested in seeing how much it speeds up my workflow, I was thinking about maybe doing a time lapse of editing the same video together using the speed editor and not using the speed editor. So if you are interested in seeing the results of something like that, hit me up in the comments below and let me know. So a couple other quick things to keep in mind if you are considering picking one of these up. On the negative side, I do occasionally run into a very minor connectivity problem. So most of the time when you turn on your laptop or turn on your computer and then pull up Davinci Resolve, the thing just kind of magically turns on and it works perfectly. But every once in a while, it's like it doesn't realize that it's up to bat. You need to kind of coax it along. And like I said before, since there's not really a wake button or a power button, you can't tell if it's like out of batteries or if it's just sleeping. So I've found that spacebar trick seems to work pretty well, or if I go up into my Bluetooth settings and disconnect it from my laptop and reconnect it, it works perfectly throughout the rest of the session. It's just sometimes that connectivity can be a little bit frustrating. But on the more positive side, one of the things that I noticed after I purchased this was that it kind of runs about the same price as the studio version of Davinci Resolve. So at least if you purchase it through B&H Photo. So if you are not already the owner of the studio version of Davinci Resolve and you buy the speed editor from B&H Photo, it comes with a license key for Davinci Resolve. So essentially you're getting the speed editor for free. So that's something to consider taking advantage of. And the other positive thing for me is that the workflow benefits that I'm starting to notice from using this device are actually very tangible in my workflow. So that's something to keep in mind too. Now that's just my personal use case, but for the most part, I'm seeing that it could definitely speed up people's workflow unless you are like a keyboard shortcut wizard and you type your edits from front to back. Either way, you don't absolutely need this device in order to do work in Davinci Resolve. It's a nice add-on. It certainly is something that could speed up your workflow if you're trying to do a lot of edits, but it's not critically necessary. So you guys be the judge. I think it's a good investment, especially if you don't already have that full version of Resolve. You can kind of get the speed editor for free by buying Resolve in a way. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, I hope this video helped you guys as far as your decision-making process or just to understand a little bit more about this device. I will be doing a much more in-depth review of the Davinci Resolve Speed Editor in the coming months, but I really want to give myself some time to use it and really get a good feel for whether or not it's a device that's worth owning. Hope you guys got some good stuff out of this video. If you did, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Maybe check out this other video for more helpful tips, and I will see you guys in the next one. Later.